you very much. Let me start by thanking Briggs Bomber for organizing this and bringing us all together. Obviously, he's a man of many parts. He's not only a good organizer, he's also a good singer. I think he did quite well earlier on singing. Kwasi Wai. Salibon Anani. Africa has been through a series of momentous changes. First came decolonization, then came the second wave, too often marked by tyranny and economic stagnation. I believe that a new wave is now in prospect for Africa, the third wave. Let us make this third wave one of lasting peace based on democracy, human rights, and sustainable development. These words may be familiar to some of you because I uttered them here in Harare in 1997, right here in Harare. I had come to address the annual Assembly of Heads of States of the then African Organization of African Union as a new Secretary General. In fact, that was perhaps one of my first outings out of New York as Secretary General, was to come here to Harare. Zimbabwe was then and remains a very special country, close to my heart. After all, I am an in-law. But after I delivered that speech 20 years ago, Zimbabwe fell under more and more authoritarian rule. The population's human rights were increasingly denied. Elections were marred by intimidation and violence. Zimbabwe's economy shrunk by half, and it lost its status as the breadbasket of Africa, which I hope we will get back. It stopped attracting talent and capital from all over the world. Instead, millions and millions of people, including young and talented people, left the country, fleeing growing repression and poverty. In other words, rather than embodying the third wave I was calling for, Zimbabwe got stuck in the second wave. Your Citizens Manifesto is testimony to the fact that the aspirations of the third wave, even though they remain unmet, are as strong as ever. The fact that we can hold this event just 10 days before the first round of elections, the fact that the opposition has generally been able to campaign freely across the country, the fact that for the first time in many years, international observers as well as the elders have been invited to come. All these are signs that from Limpopo to the Zambezi, a new spirit of freedom is in the air. To his credit, the president has promised fair, free, and peaceful elections. Let's take him at his word and push ahead. Make the most of this opportunity, even if the conditions are not ideal and may fall short. The country is at crossroads, and your participation and your role is important in determining which direction the country turns. One of the things I like about your manifesto is that it stresses the importance of active participation by citizens of this country. Too often on our continent, we have put our hopes in one man. It has seldom been a woman, as you all know. But no man, no single man, single-handedly can turn a country around. And giving one man too much power is a recipe for disaster, as both world and African history can testify. Rebuilding Zimbabwe will be the work of the nation, a nation made up of not just politicians, but also of professionals, of traders, students, workers, a nation of men and women like you. Politics is too important to be left to the politicians. Democracy is about ensuring constant participation and consultation of the people, and not just once every 5 years when we need their votes. Yes, it is about elections, to be sure, and I urge all of you to vote on 30 July to make your voices count. You cannot sit home and refuse to vote and then complain after the elections. You have power. You have power as individuals, as communities, as civil society to push for change. Use that power. Tweeting and posting are not enough. You have to go to vote. But the elections will just be the starting point, a starting point of a long process of national renewal, which will require the energy and complete social mobilization of society. For democracy to thrive, a country needs not just elections, but also the separation of powers, the rule of law, respect for the Constitution, and enjoyment of fundamental freedoms. This manifesto is meritorious example of citizens taking the initiative. It is doubly praiseworthy that it started even before the transition of 2017 began. I've always said that if leaders fail to lead, the people could lead and make them follow. Again, as people, you have power. We, the elders, have come to support you today. The elders are an independent group of global leaders who promote peace and human rights. We were brought together by Nelson Mandela, our favorite Madiba, whose memory we just celebrated in South Africa. The elders have come to support the people of Zimbabwe as you try to navigate your way to a better tomorrow, free from want and free from fear. We must remember that all healthy democratic societies are built on 3 pillars. First is peace and security. Second is sustainable and inclusive development. And the third is human rights and the rule of law. And we should remember that these pillars are interconnected and interdependent. For there can be no long-term security without development, and there can be no long-term development without security. And no society can long prosper without respect for rule of law and human rights. I urge you to make sure that my speech from 1997 will not be as relevant in 20 years' time as it is today. The third wave is on the horizon. We can all feel the swell, and I feel the excitement in the city. Let's catch the wave and move forward. Thank you very much.